Mock Draft Monday. Pro Football Network's Ian Cummings has Carson Beck going first overall to those New York Giants. We're going to give our thoughts on this and every other pick coming up next on the Locked On NFL Draft Podcast.
You are Locked On NFL Draft, your daily podcast covering the NFL Draft. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What's up, Locked On family? Welcome back to the Locked On NFL Draft Podcast, your daily podcast covering your favorite draft prospects, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. I'm your boy, Damian Parson. You can find and follow me on X at DP_NFL. I'm a senior draft analyst, and thank you for making Locked On NFL Draft your first listen today and every day. Shout out for being out every day. As you know, I got to kick this intro to Mr. LSU himself, Keith Sanchez. You can find and follow him on X at TheTalentCode. Can you talk to him, baby?
What's up, Locked On family? Let's get locked in. This is Keith Sanchez, the other side to this dynamic duel that we like to call the Locked On NFL Draft Podcast. I want to start this podcast off by saying shout out to our everydayers. Thank you for tapping in with us each and every single day. DP, over here, man, it's not just any Mondays. It is Mock Draft Mondays. We like to get the show started off right, man. Man, before we get started, why don't you hit them with our title sponsor?
Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Make every moment more. As playoffs wind down, the sports stop sporting like we want them to. But this summer, FanDuel is hooking up all customers with a boost or a bonus daily. That's right. There's something for everyone every day, all summer long. Visit FanDuel.com/lockedon to get started. Pro Football Network's recent 2025 NFL mock draft by Ian Cummings. With the first overall pick, he has the New York Giants trading up with the Carolina Panthers to select Carson Beck, quarterback out of Georgia. With the second pick in the draft, the Carolina Panthers, via the trade with the Giants, select Travis Hunter, wide receiver / cornerback out of Colorado. With the third pick, the Tennessee Titans select Malachi Starks, safety out of Georgia. With the fourth pick, the New England Patriots select Torra McMillan, wide receiver from Arizona. With the fifth pick in the draft, the Washington Commanders select Luther Burden III, wide receiver out of Missouri. With the sixth pick, the Denver Broncos select Benjamin Morrison, cornerback out of Notre Dame. With the seventh pick, the Arizona Cardinals select Will Johnson, cornerback from Michigan. With the eighth pick, the Las Vegas Raiders select Jackson Dart, quarterback from Ole Miss. With the ninth pick, the Minnesota Vikings select Deon Walker, defensive tackle from Kentucky. And with the 10th pick, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers select Mason Graham, defensive tackle from Michigan. Keith, I'm pretty sure you want to start at the top. How do you feel about back to how do you feel about the Giants moving up?
Yeah, so that's why
for Carson Beck.
That's what I was going to talk about, and what we always say on this podcast, right? We talk draft philosophy, we talk draft strategy, right? This is a draft strategy conversation, because I was trying to see where the Giants fell when you initially said they traded up with Carolina, right? And I want you to think about what I'm saying and correct me if I'm wrong in this thought, right? That the New York Giants traded up one selection, right? Because they were at pick 2, so they traded up one spot to grab Carson Beck. They traded with the Panthers. If the Panthers are willing and they're not sold on Carson Beck, in my thought process, and they're willing to, or if they're willing to draft Carson Beck, I say go ahead and do it if I'm the Giants. Secondly, I doubt that they're willing to draft Carson Beck because they traded away the number 1 overall pick, right? So if I'm the Giants, I don't trade up and give up draft capital. And then if you move and look at the teams behind them, I know it was they're number 3, the Tennessee Titans, right? They go safety, so they're obviously comfortable with Will Levis. With Will Levis, the New England Patriots, right? They just drafted why am I blanking? Drake made the Washington Commanders, just went with Jaden Daniels, right? The Denver Broncos just went with Bo Nix. The Cardinals have Kyler Murray, right? You don't have to worry about it until you get to probably pick 8 with the Las Vegas Raiders. So I don't know if I would necessarily trade up, DP, because I would feel comfortable just with how that draft order went, that I can stay put at 2 and still get my guy and don't have to give up more draft capital, because I can, like the Giants being, and we did our NFL roster assessments and we'll come out with all our rankings and everything. I can very well see the Giants being this high because it's not a lot of solutions coming out of Big Blue Nation right now. I think that's what they call themselves. But yeah, I can very well see them coming in high, but they need so many players that
Yeah.
trading up and giving up future draft capital. I would struggle to do that if I was them.
Yeah, I mean, and plus, like, and I know some people say, well, what if? Do you think that the Raiders at 8 could then try and give up a substantial draft package to the Panthers, right, to trade up to 1? But even then, for me, it's like, all right, with Jalen Milroe, with Shador Sanders, with Donovan Smith, with like Jackson Dart, there's this quarterback class. There's plenty of QBs, man. Like, you know what I mean? So it's like, don't get me wrong. I really like Carson Beck, but I'm with you. I don't want to trade up from 2 to 1 in that situation, because if I'm staying at 2, if someone's willing to trade, and then at the same time, it would have to be a really, really good trade package for Carolina to move from 1 to 8. Right now,
Mhm.
granted, we saw the Bears do that with Carolina last year when the Panthers drafted Bryce. And what did the Bears get out of that, Keith? They got DJ Moore. They ended up drafting Tyreek Stevenson, Darnell Wright. They got a crazy haul when you look at the hindsight 2020 situation of that. But again, like, I don't want to play that game if I'm Carolina, because you've been on the wrong end of these trades. So I'm not trying to trade all the way back to 8. I'd rather stay within. Truthfully, I'd rather stay at 1, or if a team, like, if it is the Giants, and if the Giants call me, cool, I'm going to trade down, take the best defensive player, because right now offense isn't projected to be the biggest issue in Carolina. It's going to be defense now. No true edge rusher. You need another corner. You got to hope J.C. Horn stays healthy. It's a lot that you got to worry about defensively in Carolina. But kids, I got to go and scroll down just a little bit here. And to that pick we talked about, the Las Vegas Raiders selecting Jackson Dart over Milroe, over Shador. This right here is a risky pick at 8. Like, a risky pick, in my opinion. You did the deep dive. You talked about, I think you gave him a late day 2 type of grade. What's your reaction if this played out like this and you hear Jackson Dart's name?
Yeah, so this is always tough having this conversation in context of we're talking about it in the summer with a year to be played. But what I've seen, right, is that no, I wouldn't take it. I wouldn't take him this high. And it's just because you run into the conversation like, okay, is this player a product of the situation and the scheme, right? And then what if I place them in a not so good situation? And I think with the Raiders, it's just tough to judge because they have so many different factors that they're trying to figure out, right? Like Antonio Pierce is now the head coach, right? Like, okay, is this a 1-year situation? He has to prove it, or is he going to be there for 2-3 years, right? They moved on from Josh Jacobs. Now it's on to Zamir White, right? This offensive line needed help. What does the defense look like? What does the offensive philosophy overall look like, for Las Vegas Raiders? What they have, they drafted Michael Mayer, and then they have Brock Bowers. There's going to be a lot of 2 tight end sets, right? Devontae Adams. How long is Devontae Adams going to stay? So it's that's a very weird situation that I would want a quarterback would potentially. And I always say this, right? Like the proven versus traits thing. But in this specific situation, I would want a quarterback with some athletic ability, like a Jalen Milroe, just to be able to escape the pocket and be able to create some stuff. Because sometimes you may have to go against the grain, right? And they may have to turn into one of those heavy RPO, right, pistol set type teams if you draft a Jalen Milroe to be able to run the football, move the ball down the field, take deep shots, things like that, to be able to manufacture offense while the rest of this team is still, I guess you could say, rebuilding and getting to that point.
Yeah, and the biggest point of everything that you said is the status of Devontae Adams, because if he's not happy with the offense, this is one of them situations come trade deadline. You got a star, elite caliber wide receiver saying, get me out of here, right? And another team says, man, we are in contention. Let's make it happen. And let's go ahead and make that trade and bring him into the fold, So it's a very I don't know. Again, I don't know how Dart's path to me leapfrogging not just a Milroe, but a Shador Sanders, who I think is more accurate. He processes better, moves in the pocket better. Like the different things. I think Jackson Dart is a better like full athlete, you know what I mean, as a straight line runner and also a power guy. And I think he's going to have more arm talent, but at the same time, you need a little bit more than that just to be a top 10 pick, in my opinion. So it's going to be interesting to see how the season plays out for Jackson Dart. But this was the one that stood out to me as kind of a high pick. You know what I mean? A little bit too high for my blood.
Yep, 100% with DP. Let's keep this thing going and flowing, man, on this mock draft Monday. Coming up next, we have picks 11 through 20.
Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. I love sports. I love them so much. I never want them to stop. But as the playoffs wind down, we get fewer games. And guys, the sports aren't sportsing like I want them to. But FanDuel lets me keep the sports going whenever I want. All I have to do is open the app and dream up bets anytime I'm in the mood. And this summer, FanDuel is hooking up all customers with a bonus or boost daily. That's right. There's something for everyone every day, all summer long. And guys, I've been looking at some of the bets on FanDuel Sportsbook for college football, and you can even bet on the college football playoff odds. And right now, Colorado with Shedeur Sanders, Coach Prime, and Travis Hunter, they are listed as plus 2,200. So I think that's something that you should look into. So head over to FanDuel.com/locked-on and start making the most out of your summer. FanDuel is the official sports betting partner of Major League Baseball. With the 11th pick in this 2025 NFL mock draft, the New Orleans Saints select quarterback from Penn State, Drew Aller. With the 12th pick, the Indianapolis Colts select Colston Loveland, tight end out of Michigan. With the 13th pick, the Seattle Seahawks select Michael Williams, edge rusher out of Georgia. With the 14th pick, the Jacksonville Jaguars select Fernando Carmona, offensive tackle from Arkansas. With the 15th pick, the Pittsburgh Steelers select Tyleik Williams, defensive tackle out of Ohio State. With the 16th pick, the Los Angeles Chargers select Nick Scourton, edge rusher from Texas A&M. With the 17th pick, the Cleveland Browns select Ashton Jeanty, running back from Boise State. With the 18th pick, the Chicago Bears select Abdul Carter, edge rusher from Penn State. With the 19th pick, the Los Angeles Rams select Jonah Savaiana, offensive tackle from Arizona. And with the 20th pick, the Atlanta Falcons select Emeka Egbuka, wide receiver from Ohio State. Keith, we got to go to your neck of the woods real quick. Drew Aller. Aller basically being this pick right here would tell us that Derek Carr did not play well in 2024, and they're right outside of the top 10. So it means, hey, we need to get a quarterback. And to get Drew Aller, I think this is a situation where Drew Aller to me is J.J. McCarthy right now. In terms of all this physical tool in the world, we need to find consistency. I need to see true drop back sets. What's going to happen on those true drop back sets? Can you show me enough to say I can take you top 15, and you might be someone that needs to sit when you get to the league for a little bit? Not saying a full year or two, but just maybe half a season, depending on the situation. But he would be going to a team with, Chris Olave, a guy that you talk very highly of, Rashid Shaheed, and his playmaking ability, Alvin Kamara potentially still being in that backfield with Kendre Miller and the different pieces they have on offense. I'm not gonna say I don't hate this. I think if you do right, this could work. But again, for me, this is a lot of projection for Drew Aller.
Yeah. So what does Drew Aller have to do to be looked at in the JJ McCarthy light? Because I think when we look at JJ McCarthy, he almost had a rare, I think it was, you can say rare, right? To still go top 15 and have minimal production and numbers. And we said it on his podcast, right? Because we watched the Michigan State game. We was like, hey, expect JJ McCarthy's stock to take off. It did. But the question is, what does Drew Aller have to do? Or was that just a one-off type situation with JJ McCarthy, and it's because they won a national championship and because of everything surrounding it? Or do you think Drew Aller can have some of the same numbers as far as what he had this year, or similar to what JJ had? outside of the winning and still be looked at as a top 15 quarterback, because we looked at it the opposite way, right? We threw out JJ McCarthy, but we can throw out Will Levis's name. And Will Levis was the number 1 overall pick for some people,
that summer.
QB1 that summer, and then he fell to, well, I think he went in the top 10 of the second round, right? He went in day 2, top 10 picks in the second round. So what is the difference, right? Because both talking about physical traits and tools. And I feel like you have JJ McCarthy on one side, you have Will Levis on the other, and then Drew Aller. Where do you fall in this conversation in context of being a big arm quarterback that's mobile? But why do some people take you in the top 15? Some people take Will Levis in the second round.
The age, him being he's a very young player, so it's like the upside is there, and we always talk about the innocent scouting. One of the scariest words is upside when you talk about a prospect, especially a quarterback. Is we need to see something, right? We need to see. I think I said the whole entire 2023 process of why I had Anthony Richardson over Will Levis is that both of them had those superhuman, Superman, elite traits, but only one guy put those traits on display in the confines of a football game in college football, and that was A-Rich. You know what I mean? So hopefully for Drew Aller that he can take that next step in 2024. But man, this is just very, very much a lot of projection, a lot of potential there and upside, but it's just projection nonetheless. I do like the 12th pick, Keith, Colston Loveland we just talked about Anthony Richardson and the Colts. This also signals that Jelani Woods either hasn't stayed healthy or didn't take that step in 2024 that's going to make them comfortable. And adding a big 6'6", 245, almost 50-pound athletic tight end with great catch radius and leaping ability, and a guy that can run block as well. Adding him to this offense with Michael Pittman, Josh Downs, Alec Pierce. Why am I blanking on my man's name? Oh, Adonai Mitchell and Jonathan Taylor. Like, this is Shane Steichen will be out there cooking with this young core of an offensive supporting cast.
Yeah, now that's doubling, tripling, and quadrupling down, right, on surrounding Anthony Richardson with the requisite weapons to be successful. DP, I want the back end of what we talked about. Nick Scouton, and I guess that would be a situation with him because they have edge rushers, right? But I guess that would be, and that's what Ian talked about, the succession plan for Khalil Mack, because they have what
Bosa.
They have Bosa, they have Khalil Mack, and then they have Tuli Tuipulotu, who is a very productive edge rusher too. So I wonder, is this just, I guess, taking best player available? Is that necessary a need? Pick 18, the Chicago Bears, getting a dual Carter this late in the draft. I don't know if I think this is gonna happen. This guy, if he's and we're gonna do a podcast and we're gonna have some comparisons. If he compares to Michael Parsons, just similarly to how Michael Parsons fell to pick 17 or something like to the Dallas Cowboys, that will not happen for a dual Carter. You know what I'm saying? If there's a redraft, Michael Parsons going top 5, top 7 in that draft, right? Abdul Carter is probably going to go top 5, top 7 in this draft. So I think he's going to be one of those players. If you want him, don't expect him to fall. You got to go up there and get him.
Yeah, no, Michael's he was right outside of the top 10. He was at 12, but still, I mean, to your point, we redraft. Mike is top 3. You know what I mean? 9 times out of 10, that type of ball player is going top 3 in the draft. But I like the fact that you brought that up because and the Bears can get him at 18. That is great value. And then pay him opposite of Montez Sweat. Matt Eberflus is still there. You got Caleb Williams and all the weapons he has offensively. That's big. Seeing Ashton Genty going, and he would be RB1.
In a loaded running back class. Yes. Like, I think this is going to be a really good running back draft.
Because I currently have, I think 3 to 4 guys that I have in my region already with like second round grades. Like I haven't graded, like I have one running back that's like day 3. And he has a chance to move up, switching teams and everything. That was Justice Ellison that we talked about a couple weeks ago over with Indiana going from Wake Forest. So no, I like seeing Ashton Genty here. I think this signals kind of what truthfully, people should be prepared for a pick like this for Cleveland. Nick Chubb is coming off of a gruesome injury to his leg, right? I think ACL, MCL, PCL, one of those CLs or multiple CLs in that situation, and hopefully he can return to form. But I believe he's also on an expiring contract, so it's like you don't expect him to get some multi-year extension coming off of this injury unless he runs for like 2,000 yards, and they say, "Man, you are Adrian Peterson reincarnated." Like, no, I don't think that's going to be the situation. So I do think the Cleveland Browns are a team that is going to be right in the mix for one of these top running backs. The only thing I question, you're at 17, which means you missed the playoffs yet again after paying Deshaun Watson $200 million guaranteed and over $40 million per year. I think it might be time to look at a quarterback if you're top 20. If you're top 20, close to top 15, I do think, and when you think about Shedeur Sanders being available, Jalen Milroe being available, we've seen guys that have not proven anything close to what they have.
This wouldn't
go in
be,
front of them.
yeah, Shador still being on the board right here. This wouldn't be a bad spot for him, honestly, because he has so many wide receivers and playmakers. He just simply has to get the ball to him, and he has a good offensive line, right? So it's rare you say this, but Cleveland could be a better situation for Shedeur Sanders than what he had at Colorado. And that's
100%.
rare for QB prospects to move up, because most of those guys play at Bama, right? Then they end up in a bad situation at Carolina, like Bryce Young or something like that. So it's the opposite. So he definitely has that opportunity. But DP, let's keep going, man. We are on to picks 21 through 32 from this 2025 NFL mock draft.
Thank you for making Locked On NFL Draft your first listen today, and to Everyday Shot for being out every day. As let's close it out. Picks 21 through 32. The Miami Dolphins select Kenneth Grant, defensive tackle from Michigan. With the 22nd overall pick, the New York Jets select Donovan Smith, quarterback out of Houston. With the 23rd pick, the Dallas Cowboys select probably my RB1 right now, Ollie Gordon II, running back out of Oklahoma State. With the 24th pick, the Green Bay Packers select Takario Davis, cornerback out of Arizona. With the 25th pick, the Philadelphia Eagles select James Pierce Jr., edge out of Tennessee. With the 26th pick, the Cincinnati Bengals select Isaiah Bond, wide receiver out of Texas. With the 27th pick, the Buffalo Bills select Emory Jones Jr., offensive tackle from LSU. With the 28th pick, the Houston Texans select Denzel Burke, cornerback from Ohio State. With the 29th pick, the Detroit Lions select Will Campbell, offensive tackle out of LSU. With the 30th pick, the Baltimore Ravens select Josh Connerly Jr., offensive tackle from Oregon. With the 31st pick, the San Francisco 49ers select Barrett Carter, linebacker out of Clemson. And with the 32nd pick, the Kansas City Chiefs select Harold Perkins, linebacker out of LSU. Keith, where do you want to begin here?
Let's go back towards the top, and then we'll work our way down. I think that's a good spot, right? To go back towards.
Was it I think
I
know
the Dallas was there's a couple of them. The New York Jets taking Donovan Smith at quarterback in the first round. DP, I feel like you got surface level glimpses of him. Is this a potential situation?
I mean, it is. He's definitely a potential first round pick. Like, when you look at what he brings to the table, arm talent, mobility, like this young man is gifted and a very fun player to really watch, honestly. And it's just now, is it projection? Yes, right? You're hoping to see him take that step, going forward. 6'5", 235, good athlete, strong arm. He can rip it. He can spin it. And you just hope that the consistency builds game to game in 2024, and that's what will put him in that first round. He needs to be a little bit more consistent, and I'll have like a deep dive profile on tomorrow's episode, on tomorrow's show. When we get back into the Scout Notebook, I'll be able to really get into his tape, but like fully. But it's potential that he can get here, that he can get first round.
Yeah, for sure. All right, I'm gonna go with the next pick, man. The pick 23, the Dallas Cowboys selecting Ollie Gordon. Good fit. And you know what I thought about? It's not hitting the reset button, but it's continuing to hit the reset button. I thought this past year's draft was, okay, let's get back to the basics. And we always talk about in what that was like 2012-ish when they went the Travis Fred, where they went Tyron Smith in 09, and then 2009, 2010, somewhere in there. And then they went Travis Frederick, Zach Martin, right, to start really filling this offensive line out. And then everybody got older, right? Some people retired, some people moved on, XYZ. So now they're trying to get back to that. In this past year's draft, I thought it was a declaration of that. Or it started with the year before, right? When they took what is my guy that they moved from tackle to guard?
Oh, Tyler Smith.
Tyler Smith, yeah. They took Tyler Smith, and then this past year they went two offensive linemen, right? They went Cooper Beebe, and then they drafted I'm blanking on his name too. The other offensive lineman that they drafted this year. I don't know why am I blanking on their process, but they took two offensive linemen. I know you're gonna find it for me, DP.
Yeah,
They took two offensive linemen. So what I thought that was a signal for me was that they're back at Tyler Guyton. They took Tyler Guyton. That's why I was like, I knew it was somebody obvious, DP. That's why I was saying, I'm like, I can't believe I'm not thinking of this. But they took two offensive linemen, and then now they draft the running back. So I think it's hitting the reset button towards we've gotten much younger at what we want to be, right? Like this is fully a transition into the new phase of what the Dallas Cowboys will be, getting back to the run game, but with all younger players on young contracts, right? And so you can expect they're going to hand the ball off to Ollie Gordon a bunch. He's going to be the new Ezekiel Elliott. They have this new offensive line that's going to move people out the way. And then I'm expecting that they're probably going to pay Dak Prescott and then just let him run with these guys for the next 4 or 5 years too and see what they're going to happen. So I don't mind the pick at all. And honestly, I think I like it just from an identity standpoint.
And Keith, I love it. And I love how you tied this pick and then pairing it with from this past draft, 2024's class, and comparing it to what they did when they started the Dak Prescott, Ezekiel Elliott takeover, was they invested in the trenches. And they just did that this past draft, getting, like you said, Tyler Guyton and Cooper Beebe, and, having that offensive line to where it's going to be a bully up front and get back to that. Right. And then I'm paying Dak. I'm going to pay Dak. If you could draft Ollie Gordon, now you got yourself a 6'2", 230-pound running back who can catch the ball out of the backfield, who can run between the tackles, run some zone stuff. Like, you're going to absolutely, like, this is how you help Dak. You know what I mean? This is how you help Dak Prescott not have to wear the Superman cape game after game after game. So I love this pick at 6'2", 220, whatever. Like, get back to that, right? You know what I'm saying? Kendrick Lamar said it in Euphoric, back to back. I like that record. I'm gonna get back to that record. Get back to being physical, Dallas. Like, goodness, get back to that. Keith, I gotta go real quick. There's a couple, some good spots, but one that kind of caught me off guard was right here, Cincinnati going Isaiah Bond. That's like a receiver in like the last 2 to 3 drafts. You got Andre Yoshevus that they drafted last year in 2023. Matter of fact, they drafted Charlie Jones in that same draft, if I remember correctly, the slot receiver from Purdue. And then, this draft, 2024, they drafted Jermaine Burton. So it's like, yes, we expect T. Higgins, who signed his franchise tag, we expect him to get traded or play throughout the season and then let walk off into free agency or whatever. But adding another receiver just seems, I don't know, it just seems redundant to me. And it's like, okay, are any of the young guys you drafted, are you developing these kids correctly? You know what I mean? If you're drafting another one.
Yeah, I look at it like I don't want, so they are different skill sets, Jermaine Burton and Isaiah Bond. But from a size perspective to what they would have now versus what they had in the past, when we talking about Tyler Boyd and T. Higgins, right? Like Jamar is a different body frame, but he's probably the smallest, shortest. I'll say he's the shortest of the three of them. And I think Jermaine Burton, Isaiah Bond is listed at 5'11", 170. This is a different wide receiver course. I think if you go wide receiver, I would want a big bodied guy, right? Like I would want a big guy to kind of balance out the Jermaine Burton situation. So that I think is okay, but I'm with you. I don't love it. It's kind of like, is that necessarily the pick they need to make? Emory Jones to the Buffalo Bills, I think that is great. They finally get another people move. I wouldn't even say finally get, but they get another one to put on side of the guy they drafted out of Florida a couple years ago.
Torrance.
Yeah, Torrance. And I think that can be a really good situation. The Houston Texans go and get Denzel Burke. I think it's really good. And DP, if you can continue to scroll down some. Then the Detroit Lions getting Will Campbell. I think that's a good situational fit. I want to ask you real quick, the San Francisco 49ers with Barrett Carter and the Kansas City Chiefs with Harold Perkins to wrap out this draft. What are your takes on that situation, both of those teams?
Man, like that, the Barrett Carter to San Fran, would I take it round one? Not necessarily, but I think the fit would be good in that defense with Fred Warner and the other veteran linebackers they have there. And like I said, they potentially may lose Dre Greenlaw and Devondre Campbell, who they just so added to their defense. I think Carter would pair well with Fred, and then Fred can play that Mike backer. Let Barrett Carter. I think my comp for him, I think I fell on was the kid out of Bama a couple years ago.
Christian Harris.
Christian Harris, yes. So I think that's going to be my comp for him in terms of that weak side backer that you allow to be close to the perimeter. Let that speed, elite level type of athlete in terms of speed, burst, range, sideline to sideline, coverage ability, man and zone. Like he would fit in very well to that defense. And then I think Harold Perkins is an interesting one because it's like, if I trust any defensive coordinator to figure it out, I trust Steve Spagnuolo. I trust Spags. But it's like, what is going to be the game plan for using Perkins? Because I think they have like Willie Gay. They have I don't know why I'm blanking on the other SEC linebacker. They have
Nick Bolton.
You know what I mean? So it's like, okay, like what are we gonna do with Perkins? Is he gonna be a stack backer on first and second down, then walk down as an extra edge? Or, still be on the field on third downs as a backer, but we put him at edge. We mug the A gaps. I think it'll be a very versatile situation. I think for me, it's just more so being a little worried about what position he's going to play in the NFL. Like, is this going to be a Isaiah Simmons situation where we don't have a true plan and we never get to actually see the fruit of our labor with drafting them?
Yeah, no, it definitely can be that situation. So we'll see how that things go. But DP, that wraps up another episode, man, of the Locked On NFL Draft Podcast. I want to say shout out to Everydayers. Thank you for tapping in with us each and every single day, man. I told you at the top of the show, tell you at the bottom of the show, hit that like button. Don't forget to comment and make sure you subscribe to the YouTube channel, Locked On NFL Draft. Yes, we would love to have you over here, part of our community. I am Keith Sanchez. You can find me on X at The Talent Code. That right there is my guy, my co-host, Mr. Damian Parson. You can find him on X at DP_NFL. And like we always like to say, man, y'all come talk to us because we like to talk back.
Go subscribe and follow for free on YouTube. Wherever you listen to podcasts, get the latest episode as soon as it is available. Guys, thank you for making Locked On NFL Draft your first listen today and every day. Sorry for being our everydayers. On tomorrow's show, we are getting into the scouting notebook again. We're going to bring Nick Scourton, the edge rusher from Texas A&M. I'm going to talk about, is Donovan Smith, the quarterback from Houston, is he a first-round graded prospect? We'll get into all of that on tomorrow's show. So come and join the conversation again tomorrow on the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.